This is the February regular meeting of the RTM Public Works Committee. A couple of short notes before we start, with an apology to the committee for me. Jeff Kraus cannot join us again. He's dealing with some family issues, so he's asked me. So you're getting Team B for tonight's meeting again. When Jeff sent out the agenda to me to circulate and take care of, I inadvertently, well, because I wasn't aware that this originally was intended to be a joint, to start off as a joint meeting with TGS&A. And so the agenda that got filed with the town clerk that everybody sees and the public sees just has us meeting here. So we were supposed to have gone down and met with TGS&A and listened to and talked about the first item on the agenda. So we can discuss whether we want to reconvene, go down and join that meeting. That's item one, because I'm sure they're just getting started. Or we can just say, I've advised them that we may not come down because of my screw up. And the point of that discussion with TGS&A is to talk about really more of the legal aspects of the Sump Pump ordinance that TGS&A is dealing with. There's a fair bit of not confusion, but sort of cross lines on exactly where and how that ordinance should be structured because of various state statutes which sort of cross lines on authority of the commission and the authority of what the RTM is allowed to do versus the commission. So there's a question that I'll sort of put out to the committee is whether we want to involve ourselves in those legal discussions as opposed to what our mandate is really is, as the Public Works Committee, we sort of oversee or advise on the Public Works sort of the day-to-day operations of the public works, and really what the guts of this ordinance is intended is to try and eliminate the illicit water going into the sewer system. So I'm going to open it up for discussion just to see if we want to adjourn and go down to the auditorium and participate in that TGS&A meeting. There are no other members of the public, at least not yet. But I'll just open it up for discussion, what people think. If you want to go down and participate in that, we can, if the committee thinks that that's what we should do. Or we can just keep going and have our own discussion and move forward. Frank.
So I think we as a committee, again, recognizing that we have some new members here, we as a committee have been consistently supportive of Ed Gentile and their efforts to cut out the illicit I&I. Are there significant changes from the prior version, or have most of the changes that they've made to this ordinance been in response to the kind of the eligibility questions or the legal questions that got raised at the last RTM meeting?
Yeah, that's a good question. You all received in your packets copies of what is the ordinance under discussion, and I'm going to answer your question with a question that I don't have the answer to, and that is whether what was circulated is actually the most current version. I think it is not the most current version. Okay. So because what has happened in the meantime is that the town council or a junior member of town council staff drafted a whole new ordinance, which, and I'm short-circuiting this, that basically says that the changes to the ordinance or changes to what the ordinance would, the changes that the ordinance would put into effect are not subject to RTM review. So really, which is not as informed as other people think that it is, or as it should be. So that's part of the crux of the conversation, I think, downstairs. I think that has sort of wound its way through. And there's another version of the ordinance coming through. So this was all sort of sped up to try and see if we couldn't make this onto the February RTM meeting. I don't see any way on God's green earth that's going to happen. So I think, and nor have we gotten any of the input. So we're primary on this. So we're supposed to be driving the bus. And Jeff has been getting a lot of this information. I haven't seen all of the information that's coming through. There should be input from those committees that are secondary, which are F&B and public safety, public health and safety, and TGS&A. So the way I envision the process, or the way it's worked oftentimes when we're making a new ordinance or changes to charter and those types of things, is it's assigned by rules to the committees do their work, it bubbles up, they share copies, red lines, work their way through it to get it, then they kick it back to RTM, to the rules committee, and at some point town council gets involved and says, okay, this is what we're going to do. Or town council will draft it, send it out, it gets redlined, kicked back, and ultimately rules then schedules it for a vote. In this case, it's sort of bouncing around right now, and I haven't seen any of the red lines. Jeff may have gotten some of the red lines, but I haven't seen any from any of the other committees. So at a bare minimum, this was a very long answer to your question. At a bare minimum, I think we have to have another meeting to look at and review and vote on whatever the red lines and whatever that consolidated ordinance is going to look like.
So if I can just reflect and make sure I understand, the draft resolution that we received, which was forwarded to us, I mean, I circulated that
this week,
Wednesday morning,
yeah.
And I received it Tuesday night, I think,
Yeah.
or Tuesday afternoon. This is not the final resolution.
Mm-mm.
The name of this document is Sump Pump Removal Ordinance with BOS comments. There are no comments in here, right. So it's impossible to see what the Board of Selectmen comments would have been. Yeah. And we're still awaiting input from other secondary committees. So I concur with your evaluation, my esteemed colleague, that there's no way that we could vote on this tonight because we don't even have the final ordinance. Yeah. I mean, again, we as a committee have been consistently in favor of helping Ed Gentile and the Sewer Commission tackle the I&I problem. And if it helps us to have a sense of the meeting, I would be glad to make a motion that we continue to support that goal. But as far as the specific ordinance here, I don't see any way we can vote on this tonight.
Yeah, I would agree.
No, I'm agreeing, although the Sump Pump removal ordinance
So,
is final for
just
me, but
backing up a step, for those that are new on the committee. This ordinance,
You guys, Public Works?
yes,
Yes, sir.
I think we're all downstairs in the auditorium.
yes, we're,
Are you TGS&A?
No, I'm with the Sewer Commission.
Oh, okay.
We're doing a joint thing. Should we come up here and see you guys at some point, or how do you want to do it?
you're welcome to do that if you'd like. I think the way that this sort of came together, the joint meeting wasn't going to work.
Okay,
So,
all right, so
we hate to have you go through it twice.
no, that's fine. Where are we on your agenda? Are we later? You want us to do them first and then come up?
I think that
Does that work for you guys?
that's fine.
Probably best. I think.
All right, cool. All right, we'll see you guys in a little while.
Okay, thanks. Forget where it was.
So should we just make a motion to put the Sewer Commission guys at the end of the agenda?
I'll entertain a motion.
I would love to make a motion. Yes,
Second.
sorry. Okay.
I'll second.
So,
So my motion is to amend the agenda so that we have a new item 6, which was other business and which is now presentation by the Sewer Commission to talk about whatever they're going to talk about for the Sump Pump ordinance.
okay, Frank moves. Alan seconds, all, discussion, all in favor?
All right.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think you were going to tell the new people, give them a little background
Yes.
about what.
So this ordinance worked its way through to deal with the illicit water that's making its way into the sewer system, the sanitary sewer system. And when it made its way to the floor of the RTM last fall, there were a number of questions raised, very good questions that hadn't been considered by the other committee, certainly not by Public Works. nor by some of the other committees. TGSNA raised a number of issues. So the ordinance was tabled. But it didn't go away. It still needs to be dealt with. And it's an important issue for all of the 5,400 and some odd sewer users in town. So it's adding a significant expense with this with the I&I water that's going in there. So so it's back now. We're still primary, and those other committees are secondary. So
Yeah, ask for the folks who are new. Are you familiar with what the issue is, or would it help to have a 30-second summary of what?
I read as much as I could, and I just want to verify that the town's gone through lengths in previous years to find other sources of groundwater getting in cracked pipes. They did some smoke
Correct.
testing, and so there's reason to think that most of the illicit water or input into the system is coming from these sump pumps.
Correct.
yes.
Correct.
And
Sounds
there's
like
no
an expensive program.
and there's no technology available without getting it into people's basements to check for illicit tie-ins.
I can't speak to the available technology. The Director of Public Works has never suggested there's any form of technology that he has available that would enable him to detect where there are illicit sump pumps. I can imagine things in my crazy imagination, but that's not what you want to hear, right?
Right. So, okay.
Well,
He's never.
There are cameras that they put in through to inspect the lines.
Great. And that will not tell you from the main. It'll those inspect in the main, and they identify the laterals where the houses are connected. But if you have an illicit sump pump connection in your basement, all that water is just coming out of the lateral, right?
Right.
There's no way to tell whether that's water coming out of your shower or water coming out of your sump pump. The shower is legitimate, the sump pump is not.
So I don't know. I mean, if the volume is insane at 2 a.m, I don't know. But I'm taking it from what I understand that there is no cost feasible technology other than
The
physically
Director of Public Works has not identified any option.
So
And he has in fact identified a whole number of other steps that he has already taken to eliminate other potential sources of I&I, that's infiltration and inflow. And the scale of the problem is pretty massive. I think roughly 40 to 50% of the water that we send to Stamford every year for sewage treatment is not coming from sources like the water company.
and the cost is not just the WPCA charge for volume, but when they do capital improvements on the system,
Sure. So we're
we get
handling,
based on the amount of water we're sending over. So it's a big problem.
it's a significant.
So I think as a new member, I understand where we're at and the frustrations, and be interested to see what the sewer commission has to say.
And this has been not to overshare, but like I've been on this committee for a long time, and my level of respect for Ed and as the Director of Public Works is extremely high, and he's been working on this for years. So when he says he's taken all the low hanging fruit, I'm inclined to believe him, and this is the next step. This is definitely a much heavier lift, administratively, legally, for the sewer commission to just proceed. So I think they've been dancing around this candidly for a while because there are other things that are easier to execute. But this is what's left.
And my back of the napkin math is this is costing about $1 million a year.
Potentially, yes.
I think that's right. That's
Because
pretty
we have an overall sewer budget of about $4 million a year.
But
That's right.
to be clear, $1 million a year is assessed to the sewer users,
Correct.
not all of the taxpayers. So,
Correct.
so it's a big number divided by even fewer number of
Right.
people or users. So it's a big number, and it could significantly reduce the sewer costs to the users. So
Again, just to perspective on that, even if the allocable share of the cost might be roughly $1 million, that doesn't mean that that's on the table to be saved in the near term, because we have some minimums with what we have to, the percent of the budget we have to spend with the Stamford WPCA. So getting this out, to your point, reduces the demand on the capital equipment and the capital budget, and sets the table longer term for more significant cuts to our fees with the Stamford WPCA. But in the near term, under the current contract, we are not able to pro rata get every dollar that we might save out.
still a big part of it.
Oh, it's still worth doing, for sure.
So,
And it will take time to roll in and
Yes.
all that, but
Yes.
it's a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, so the discovery process, which is what this ordinance is meant to do, the commission has been sending out, questionnaires to sewer users for years, trying to get this information. But there's no enforcement lever included in that. What this ordinance is intended to do, which I assume you've all read through it, is to now put some force of law behind it with penalties. One of the discussions, the legal discussions that's underway is whether or not the commission actually has, there's a serious thought that the commission doesn't have the authority to invoke a penalty for not providing information, which is what's requiring the ordinance to go. I mean, it's all the legalese. Not that I don't mean to be dismissive, but that's where the guts of the conversation is going on now between, two different sections of state statute. So at the end of the day, I believe that this is going to pass in some form. It will put force of whatever the size of the fine, 250. Some people think it ought to be 1,000. There's all kinds of things that are going to be under discussion. So, okay. This is.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I totally was sweating. Sorry about that.
So, should we go through on the assumption that you've all read it? Are there things that you read or? This is sort of an open discussion. I don't think we're going to take. My guess is we're not going to take any action on it tonight, but I think it would be important to walk through some of the issues that any of you have noticed in any way, whether it's typos, whether it's any issues in the ordinance or in the materials that were sent out, just on the Sump Pump. Don't all talk at once.
So again, if we're not looking at the final ordinance here, then things like typos might be a little premature.
Yeah, typos are probably premature, but
I think we're all aligned on the objective of the legislation. So I think it really becomes a TGS&A question as to how to enact that in a way that is legitimate and enforceable.
yeah, the one thing that has, to your earlier question, one thing that has been removed is the right of the town to gain entry to a user's facility or home to look for themselves without permission. That has been removed, which was never going to happen anyway, but it was part of the previous ordinance.
Which is interesting because in all the conversations that we had with Ed, they emphasized that no one's going to barge into your home anyway. So to have the ordinance written with
In a
that
way that
permission,
which allowed it,
right,
didn't
seems
make any sense. Yeah, it
of concern. So I'm glad that's gone. Thank you for clarifying.
And then there's a question of whether the timing on whether any penalties can be assessed 3 months, 6 months, 30 days, whatever it is. Statutes are at, cross numbers in terms of what those, one statute says you can, can't be any more than 30 days. Another says 6 months. So these are all the things that they're discussing downstairs. Again, I don't think that changes the net effect of what this committee has been very, very supportive of for now years in trying to fix this.
if I could just add, the problem as I see it as a very new member is determining non-compliance, who's got these illicit taps. And that's why I want to hear from the sewer commission, the technology, because I'm a veterinarian. We use ultrasound, we do Doppler. You can see fluids moving through pipes easily. And I'm just wondering if on a large industrial, if you have a machine over the lateral, and again, 3 a.m, when the groundwater level is high, if you see a lot of flow, is that technology available? Because we're never going to be allowed to go into the basement and check with us, and they can temporarily unhook it if they know you're coming.
Sure.
So it just seems to be the big problem with this. I think this is a beautiful idea to try to get this under control, but the compliance and enforcement seems really dodgy.
Yeah, to your point, I do recall, Ed, on a number of occasions when we've discussed this, has described how they have stats on water flows. And it is significantly higher during rainstorms and wet weather or persistent wet weather versus dry weather. So that comes down to one of two things, either sump pumps or lots of cracks in the system where water's seeping in. And I think that the process that they've gone through to analyze and the main lines, not the laterals, but the main lines, where they have found cracks and breaks, and that they have been fixing.
They're putting smoke in there from what I read.
Yeah, which is a standard procedure.
No, I don't usually talk this much. I'm just like a new guy.
It's okay.
And I'm trying to make sure I
You can
understand.
remind me your name. My name is Frank. I'm sorry.
I'm David.
David, thank you.
So I'm learning and just trying to make sure what I've read so far is correct.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, everything you've said so far, you're 100% accurate. Yeah, they have had some smoke tests, and Ed described some very interesting tests where you put smoke in one part of the sewer system, and you see that smoke coming out of certain homes, like the plumbing vents on the roof. Well, someone's connected to something there, and is that legitimate? Is it not? It doesn't show that you had a sump pump, but the smoke is making its way back through the system. So again,
They have lots of techniques, and I'm sure Craig and
Yeah.
and forgot the other guy's name, would be happy to walk through what they've done. I'm going to propose, but again, this is wide open, so I don't want to shut any questions down, but I'm going to propose that the next step here, well, there's two steps, actually. We don't have anyone identified as part of the committee. This was another action item that I wanted to focus on. Specifically on the list to do sewers other than you and Rolf.
right. So we've been the sewer liaison folks
Right.
for a while.
Right.
Right.
So as I would think that the two of you should be the point people on this process. Does that make sense?
That makes 100% sense. I mean, I'll be honest, I've been remiss in this.
No.
But
There's no blame here.
they like
There's a lot of work to go, right?
come clean. But yeah, that does make sense.
Ralph was, heavily focused on this last fall.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, as we are primary on this, and I think that I would propose that the next step here is that the 2 point people on the sewer focus area liaise with TGS&A and PHNS and F&B to get the blended or the red line versions, their red line versions, and consolidate this all into one version that will be up for consideration. I may be jumping ahead, but I want to get us to the point where at the next meeting, prior to the next meeting, we can get that version out for everyone to look at, redline themselves, raise any questions so that we can, the goal here is to get this is not going to happen in February, but I would think the goal should be to get this finished by the March meeting. Because time literally is money, and time and money literally is going down the drain.
I would think
See what I did?
Brilliant. I would think that, not that I like to put myself on a hot seat, but you would look to us to then do a short briefing to the committee at the next meeting to say, hey, here's where we were, here's where we are.
Yeah.
And here's why we have the final draft that you're looking at.
And Jeff has been, I think, doing some liaison with certainly TGS&A. That's why the joint meeting was set up that I screwed up. So I think we're probably further along than I realized, which could not be a shock.
So I'll reach out to Rolf and we'll reach out to the other groups.
Okay, great. So in the meantime, if any of you come up with questions, feel free to reach out to Frank or through Jeff, and Jeff will, disseminate to the group.
And Patrick, can you remind me what is the date of our next meeting? just so we have it.
I have it. I'll get it
This is February, so probably it's 4 weeks from today is my guess.
roughly. The last one was on the 8th. This one's on the 12th,
So probably, but February's 28 days, so probably March 12th is my guess.
something like that. Looks good.
And it is March 5th.
Do a schedule. I missed a couple meetings.
We do.
Okay,
It was emailed to you.
it was emailed to me.
Yeah.
I've been,
I'm sorry I misspelled your name.
that's okay.
I have to hit mark as March.
Let's see if I have it.
So the reason, does that all make sense?
That makes complete sense. Yeah.
Anybody else? Okay, shall we move on to item 2? And our lead on Great Island, I thought was Mark. Mark is not with us tonight. So have you all had a chance to review the information about the resolution for an appropriation of, and the resolution that we have is the wrong amount.
The 475?
Well, the resolution actually says 617.
Oh.
So the amount has been changed because they've made a number of changes.
The one that Krista
The
sent out?
Krista sent, yeah.
If she's, okay, then I apologize.
I think it- Yeah,
Okay, then I printed off the wrong one. Yes, I think I printed off, but she sent it out, sent out the new one.
I see looking at the map, I cannot figure the orientation of that little green map. I'm very familiar with Great Island,
I don't know that we can project that.
I don't,
Yeah, we can't project that up.
and maybe it's not important, but I couldn't figure out where the stables are in the main house, and it's just,
so if I recall correctly, and I'm working on that,
tell me where the Rings and Bridge is.
but it's like here, so the circle is like here, and then the bridge I think is that way, and you come in, you go around the circle, you come through here,
Okay.
the stables are roughly here. That's the first house that you pass,
Okay,
and then you loop around it.
so you come off the loop, you head toward the stables, and that's one of the residential houses you pass.
The first
Okay, thank you.
one that it'll be on your right as you drive past.
Yeah, so the one referred to as the greenhouse is the first. So they've already paved as you go past the turnabout. And you go down what looks like a raised, sort of the main drive for the stables. That whole, it's a brand new paving. They have to rip that up and put some utility on it. So that's that's my understanding. That's part of the reason why the cost is so high. And then the greenhouse, the first one up on the right. As you're going down.
Thank you.
Carol.
this is really dumb. Can you tell me in words what made the cost drop from 6 something to 475? What were the things? I saw things in red parentheses.
Yeah.
Looks like they took out like town council or something, but
Yes.
I'm not sure I understood what they took out.
And mine did not print out.
Red ours is reading over.
So it says here, must be
Well,
drawn.
it's in that thing that you were just looking at with the
Yeah,
map.
must be drawn here.
Yeah, John.
Yeah, what?
Yeah, welcome center and restrooms, forecourt gathering space, meadow restoration.
Oh.
But I took that to mean that was dropped from
That's the.
a while ago.
Yeah.
That's when it was gonna be really big. But this time it dropped from 617 to 475. And that's what I wasn't quite clear what had. Can you keep scrolling? Is this the thing that has the parentheticals? Yeah.
Oh.
See?
So Contingency got
So-
removed, construction manager got removed, town consultants got removed, and attorney fees got removed.
But why? How can you just remove that? Are they important or not important?
I have no idea.
I think, actually, I don't know where those are going to. All I know is that they're not gonna be part of this appropriation.
Okay, do you see what we're
watched the
talking
Board of
about?
Finance meeting with John the other night. They were discussing this, and I'm not gonna get this exactly right, but they were saying, you know, they're gonna have to bond a certain amount anyway, and since this is, you know, under 500,000, they're gonna kind of shift that to kind of the later.
Okay, all right,
You know,
so
bucket.
it's just
Yeah,
gonna be.
it's just getting pushed back. Thank you.
Yeah, numbers for town expenses don't go down without a.
So I'm gonna ask my regular uncomfortable question for off-cycle appropriations. We did a whole process and there's 8 criteria for having an off-cycle appropriation. This still doesn't meet any of them. Why are we doing this?
I'm going to interrupt you just for 1 second. Since this is a resolution that is up for discussion and action at the next, or it's intended to be at the next meeting, I think I'd rather put that under discussion. So is there a motion to accept this or to adopt this? And then we'll go into this and.
Oh, sorry.
And then
I'm getting it.
I think that's this. So is there a motion
So I'll move the resolution as worded.
as worded?
Okay.
Is there a second? Moved and seconded. Now we're open for discussion.
Sorry, I got ahead of the game.
Thank you. I just want to
I
make
have
this.
not brushed up on my.
And this is the map you were looking at, right?
That is the map that I was looking
Okay, just for reference.
at. That little set of squares.
I think I understand now, because I tried to superimpose it over my Google Maps and could not figure it out.
Yeah, you'll have trouble doing that.
That building
Brilliant.
is that, and so you just drive in and go around.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, so this is really a small condensed part of Great Island.
Yes.
And it's meant to just show, this really is a really small part of development that they're gonna do. I mean, this is way down from the 13 million or whatever it was that had the Welcome Center.
Right.
So, and, but, so it's really just intended, as I took this back to what the original, at least what I understood as the original intent of giving early access at minimal cost. So that's what I read.
I mean, this seems to me to be a reasonable, like, yes, we need to provide parking in order for people to use Great Island. The point is for people to use Great Island. That seems great. And is much more reasonable than $10 million or whatever it was. So it feels like a good way to solve the problem.
And a step ladder to further potential development down the road if we need.
Right. It's in line with. It lays a lot of groundwork at a minimal expense.
And I think this project has always been how people are gonna use it and what they want. So to your point, we have to provide some access, but it's gonna be slow, let's say. It's not gonna be a quick project in building a lot of stuff. We're gonna start with this step and take small steps and see what happens. So I'm okay.
I think one of my concerns has always been that we spend too much too quickly before we actually understand what we're going to do with the property in deep detail. And I voted and I was an enthusiastic voter to buy the island. I keep making the comparison to Waveney in New Canaan, where it's taken them 30 years to get it to where it is today. And I mean, I don't know, attend the meetings, it's in a conservatorship and all this other stuff. It's developed very slowly. I think there was a different timeline here in Darien to use to get Great Island up to speed. So I think it's been a very open and transparent process, and I think this is the right way to do it. Do it slowly, this is just one person's opinion, slowly get the minimal amount of access or need to do to give access and let it take shape from there.
I couldn't agree more. I live on Peartree Point Road. There's someone, without exaggeration, someone's gonna get killed. The amount of pedestrian traffic, especially on that curve, going from Peartree Point Beach to Great Island, it's bad, really bad. And so this is urgent to get some parking resources on Great Island. I'm also very concerned about the bonding issues. We're gonna hit $300 million from what I hear with HHR, what's at Holmes, Henley, and Royal. And that's really worrisome. And so I also agree that we acquire the property, we lock it down, we get some way to get residents to be able to park in there. And we take a pause while we look at all these other, non-public works projects and try to see what we can do to get the budgeting under control and the debt under control. My comments. I mean, I don't think the 300 million is wild. I was talking to someone on the board of finance. I think it's a low bid. Yeah. And I think our tax revenues are around 200 million.
Not quite.
Not quite. So debt to revenue is as bad as the federal situation. So that's one of my biggest concerns as a resident. And these road to perdition steps, okay, it's 500,000 here. But we just, for the topographic survey, that was 27,000 death by 1,000 cuts. And so the fact I'm in favor of this goes against my nature, wanting to tamp down our capital projects. But I think, and it is down from the 13 million that was originally proposed. So for those reasons, I think it's reasonable to get this done. I didn't know we're tearing up a new road.
David, your question.
Don't quote me on that. That's my understanding.
Your point comes back to Ian's question, which is we have a process for annual capital appropriations. We have a process for prioritizing all the spend across the town, and we have an agreed exception process to that annual process. And this falls into none of those buckets.
Is that because the whole thing went topsy-turvy?
Well, if I might, I think the lawsuit to prevent the removal of some of the trees slowed things down by 6 or 9 months. And so it might have thrown it off what the original timeline had been. I'm guessing, but it certainly didn't move along as expected. I think that was one issue. But also I think there is a clamoring, from what I understand, for people to, get early access and be able to park there for all the reasons that David mentioned, other people have mentioned. So I think that's one of the reasons they're sort of justifying the off-cycle nature of the expense. I think we're going to spend something. It's not going to happen for free. I think what they're doing seems to make sense to me, but I don't know what, if you wait to go on cycle, you're probably going to put this off by another 6 or 8 months. Frank?
Just as a point of information, which I do not know, we know, for example, that we did an off-cycle appropriation for, was it benches and chairs and tables? And that was, in one man's view, rushed through off-cycle around this time last year, if I remember right. Yeah. And that was intended to get in place for the summer season. And in fact, it was installed just in time for the fall storms and winter, if my recollection is right.
Yeah.
So that was completed in September. If we approve this, if we move this forward as requested, do we think that this work can actually be done in time for summer of 2026?
Sorry,
of course.
John was saying the other night with just this project, it's not due to be done until end of 2027, I believe. So it's going to be a long process.
Thanks for clarifying. And I'm sorry, I don't know anything.
Sarah,
I'm Frank. So it seems like the house is not on fire for this.
Justice part.
So you're suggesting we can put this on cycle?
I'm trying to understand the urgency of this.
Yeah, no, that would make sense.
And I'm also trying to put in context, the last time we were told something was urgent, we didn't actually achieve the goal we intended to achieve by going off cycle.
I think, from my own perspective, we spend a lot of money getting access to a unique parcel of land that has incredible challenges getting to and from. As we all know, an extremely narrow road, we only own half of it and all that good stuff. It makes sense to me that we have access to as many of our citizens as possible relatively quickly. And the reality is that anyone that isn't mobile, that can't walk that distance from Peartree Point Beach, or who really, even if you get dropped off at the entrance, an older person can't walk up there and walk around and enjoy it. And I think this is fair enough. I think we should move things along as swiftly and responsibly as possible. I think otherwise it just drags on and on and on. And then this to me seems like a fairly modest sum to get some reasonable access to a broader scope of the population.
Just to say it, I'm generally supportive of us doing this. But every time, I'm going to make the same point every time we have the off-cycle things, because we have got a very bad habit and we've gotten into bad behavior in our town government of just not planning and letting stuff roll through.
To get this on cycle, if we're looking at 2027 completion, we're looking only a couple of months to approve the appropriation, or is it, I don't know what the cycle even means. I'm so new to
The
this.
cycle would be part of the annual budget. So in theory, it would get approved in May as part of the overall capital budget. So why we can't?
In February, why we can't wait till May doesn't make any sense to me. So I didn't understand that, and so I'm changing my opinion. I do agree that we should try to get access as early as possible. I don't think this is going to materially change a completion date by getting this on a normal, budgeting process.
Our budgets don't run January to December. Our budgets run July to June.
Okay.
So effectively,
But if they want this to be part of the annual cycle, it would get approved as part of the early May RTM meeting, which is the budget meeting.
right, but so effectively I'm taking the other side of the argument, I'm presuming a bunch of stuff, but if I think about ed and road building and all, like, you're giving up a decent portion of your season for 2026 to do work. Because that season probably starts in end of March.
Planning starts now, probably.
Right, so it might push the launch out a year, just you lose a season. So, again, I can get there for this one. And I feel very differently about $471,000 than I do $10 million, where I did make a big stink about it. And I would like to see us develop more discipline.
No, I'm just gonna say that I agree with you, and I don't know your name.
Steve.
Stephen. And with you, I think access, we need to move. And if I don't know at this point if voting now or voting in May is gonna make a difference, a material difference in when things can get done, but I'm okay with doing it off cycle, even though that sends your sensibility.
Does, but don't get everything you want.
Sarah, I didn't watch the F&B meeting. I'm actually meeting with somebody from F&B tomorrow. But I don't know if I think one of the other issues here is the timing of the bond issuance. And so
I see.
I think that's what's driving this. They're trying to get this included in, I think, part of a larger bond, so that they don't have to do a bond anticipation note. They can get. I'm pretty sure that there's a whole financing side of this which is driving the timing more than a couple of months into 27 for a construction schedule.
Yeah.
So that's my sense of it.
So here is the question, Carolyn, about what was removed.
Yeah.
Basically, it's all retail to brand money now.
Right. Well, it's not their money. It's
all money that
It's
is
the
spent with retail to brand.
yes. That's the amount that they have estimated.
I'm not sure how you can take contingency out of that. I've never done a project that come in a budget.
I've never seen a contingency going exactly 10%.
You do that all the time.
You really know
Whether
just
it's smart
take that,
or not.
like
Well,
Reed's gonna come in on budget. There's not gonna be a change order somewhere in there, but
Or cost of materials or cost of labor or something changes, right?
I think that's.
I think
It's
I
not.
think, again, this is a resolution to authorize the issuance of bonds and notes. So it doesn't mean the expense is going away. It's just not going to be part of this appropriation or part of this bond authorization.
That just puts me back on Ian's bandwagon, that to the extent that we're taking a single logical cluster of expenses and breaking it into inscrutable chunks so that we can get some things into one bonding and some things into another bonding seems like fundamentally a bad financial management practice.
Again, I think it's being more driven by the bond timing.
I'm not
Yeah, no, I
admitting, I mean.
I hear what you're
it's like
saying.
this-
And I'm not
Project,
defending
yeah.
one side or the other.
I mean, for a project that costs 17, you've proven as a whole thing.
Okay, any other discussion? It's been moved and seconded. We've had discussion. Shall we vote? Okay, all in favor of resolution, it's not numbered. I guess this will be, I don't know what number this will be. But the resolution, $475,402 for planning and design of the Great Island Early Access Project and authorizing the issuance of bonds and notes in the same amount to meet the said appropriation. All in favor? Who's keeping who's got the sheet?
I am.
Oh, I have the sheet.
Oh, well, you have the sheet.
Um,
Yes.
So I'm sorry, once again, all in favor?
So we've got 6 yeses. Which your yes, correct? Yes.
You moved it.
I moved it.
Who seconded it?
I thought you did.
You did.
I did.
Thanks, Epstein.
Patrick's a yes.
Got you.
Patrick Kane, not Patrick Park. He's not here.
Dave is not voting. Dave.
are you, I'm a no.
You're no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so a vote of, or what was the final tally?
6 yes,
6 yes,
1 no.
1 no, 1 abstention. Okay, so it carries. So the motion carries.
Motion carries.
Thank you, everyone. Okay, trying to move things along here. The next item was to have been an update on operations from the swap shop, Carolyn Bain and Susan Cameron.
Do you think they're downstairs? Should I run down and see?
Yeah, would you mind?
Yeah. I don't know.
They might be waiting for us. Those mistakes that just have several layers to it. It's okay. We'll get through it. In the meantime, I'm just going to jump to number 5 to make sure that we've got our focus areas filled out. We don't actually have anybody assigned to the recycling facility and swap shop. Sarah, you want to do that?
Yeah, sure.
Great.
You can put me down for the drainage and flooding, which I've been doing in the past.
Great, thank you.
Abstention, does it make sense to give it Mark Adeletta, the dams, bridges, infrastructure, including Great Island?
Well, Mark, I think he volunteered to help out on the budget and
Got it.
finance.
Okay.
So he had last year had been doing Great Island,
Right. So maybe he's.
which is included in that.
Great.
That's actually quite a big area.
Oh, the budget is huge, so no
Yeah, the
disagreement.
budget takes a lot, and there's going to be a change. Well, I didn't realize that the town had, after years of adopting and pushing for open.gov, we're no longer using it. Really? Yeah. Hang on. I just found out about this stuff. So open.gov is to be able to go in, anybody with access can go in and literally drive right down into, the Department of Public Works, how many pencils they buy and how much it costs and budget out for 5 years. And now apparently the cost of that is just sort of skyrocketed. So,
Cost reason.
that's what I was told. So, and I won't say my
Skeptical.
but there is an alternative. It's a layering of Excel spreadsheets and that, so if there's anyone that wants access, access will be limited. I said, just give it to every member of the RTM. And that was a cold no. So, I mean, that was my recommendation. So if somebody does really want access to that level of detail, all you have to do is raise your hand and we'll put the request in. Certainly all the committee chairmen will get that, just on order of magnitude, not to jump ahead to the budget. But the public works budget is about something like 10% of the selectmen's budget. And if you look at the overall town budget, the education budget is about 70-ish%. So the selectmen's budget might be a little bit less than that on an overall basis. But so the selectmen's budget is, substantially smaller than that. So the public works budget is somewhere in the neighborhood. It's run like $4.5 million by recollection. So I said I'm only vice chair. I said I don't really need access to it, but if anybody wants it,
Is there a cost associated with access?
I don't think so. I think it's more of a management thing.
Logistical.
Yeah, it's just handling the users.
Again, open.gov handled all that apparently beautifully.
I liked it. I mean, it was incredibly detailed. If you were trying to find something, it took you a while, but it was there. You just had to.
I've
needed
done
a
it a
map.
couple times and I struggled. I'm a finance guy,
Yeah.
maybe not the best finance guy. And I certainly struggled to find what I was looking for in open.gov. So
I
it
would
was
do
not
too.
easy, but your point, it was complete.
It's very complete. And also the opposite of that is it forces everybody, the inputs to be, incredibly detailed, which they should be.
Very good.
So
it works.
Yeah. Okay. So we don't have anybody for town planning, town plan of conservation and development, which is not really our purview in the sense that we have input into it, just like every other committee does, every other town resident that does. But just as a liaison with PZ&H, who is really the committee that does that, and the Planning and Zoning Commission. So if anybody wants to volunteer on that, that'd be great.
Right, so sorry, we thought we were doing a joint sewer thing, and I'm on the sewer commission, so
Oh,
I'll be back up here.
Pull them out.
okay. Well, thank you for joining us.
You're welcome, I will always happily talk about the swap shop.
Okay, well, why don't we just switch to that then? Maybe Susan and Carolyn, maybe you could introduce yourselves.
I'm Susan Cameron, and I was actually the person who came up with the idea of the swap shop back in 2007, 2008.
And the swap shop started in 2010.
We bought the tent and put it up in January of 2010.
And I'm Carolyn Bain, and I got involved with the swap shop through the advisory committee on sustainability and through Susan.
Yes. So it's going great. I think it's going great since we've reopened. It is really, it's fabulous. I have 104 people now signed up for Swap Shop alerts. And if you want to be on Swap Shop alerts, send me an email at swapshop@darionct.gov.
And what does a swap shop alert consist of?
It consists of, we're open today. We're going to be closed. It's too cold.
That was one of the problems
That
that we
is-
were running into, that,
A lot
you know,
of
we
people-
have regular hours, but people, you know, if the weather is inclement, we close.
We can't
And
be open.
right, and because we have to move everything outside.
Right.
And so people were getting upset because they thought the swap shop should be open, but this now enables them to know if they're not following us on Instagram, you know, that it's closed.
It's closed.
Is that where you mainly post on Instagram?
We do have someone who posts when it's closed, but Susan now also does this email.
There's a lot of people who don't do Instagram.
I don't, so.
So sign up for Swap Shop alerts. I can tell you, Ed has just told me that they will have everything moved out by Friday, and Saturday we will reopen. The other reason we don't open all the time is I'm the one who decides this. If the AccuWeather real field temperatures are below 32 degrees, we're not open.
Yeah.
It's too cold for volunteers to be standing out there. Not that some of them wouldn't do it.
Right.
But I have decided to be their mother and say, sorry, it's too cold and we don't have to be open today. So this has been hard for them. This has been a long stretch. They're anxious to get back. And I really wanted to open by Tuesday because one of the initiatives we started, Carolyn started, is a senior day. So the third Tuesday of every month, you can sign up through At Home in Darien, and you can come in a car or you can come with their bus. We have only so many people that can sign up, and gets 12 people per time slot.
Per time.
So that there's parking's not going to be an issue for
Right.
you. So
It's not crowded. I mean,
I have a couple signed up to come on Tuesday, so I'm really hoping
right.
that the weather looks like it's going to be amenable. So I'm hoping we will be able to open. We also, if anybody wants to drop something off and they just can't get there, send an email. We will figure out how to get you in. I will ask you, it's me. I will ask you, what are you bringing? Because we don't take heavy things. We have elderly people that are working there, and the first shift has to move everything out of the building.
And we don't have the space to store.
And we don't
it.
have the space, but heavy, big things are just not really possible. So I'm hoping now that once we get this email thing going, I can add a few things in, like, hey, if you want to bring something larger, bring it at 10 o'clock when we open. If you bring it at 12:15 when we close at 12:30, there's a very good chance it's going to get thrown out because we don't have an audience between 12:15 and 12:30 that will grab it. So, you know, there's some other little things. Carolyn's pet peeve is people bring things in and they just bring them in loose and plop them on the table. Number one, you don't know what it is. Number two, the pieces aren't all together. You're trying to figure out, how are we going to keep these pieces all together so that somebody doesn't take this and they're missing some other key pieces to what you brought in.
Right, and stuff moves in and out so quickly that we just simply don't have the volunteer power for people to sit there and, you know, put the pieces together.
Yeah.
So we ask if things are in multiple pieces, you know, corral them somehow in a Ziploc bag or a box, label things, let us know what it is.
Jigsaw puzzles in boxes that are not very well put together, those pieces are not going to stay together. People pull them out. I don't understand why when you write on it what it is, people feel the need to then just rip the tape off. I don't have to see it. It's like I've written out what it is. Anyway, those are some of our little pet peeves, but otherwise, I think it's going really, really well.
How many volunteers do you have?
I think our list is probably 30 people. Number one, not everyone works every day that we're open.
Right.
And number two, we have a bunch of volunteers that don't want to deal with the public. We have a cleanup day on Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
So Tuesday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, one of those 3 days. That's where we got the idea of Tuesday Senior Day, because we're going to be there anyway, cleaning up and organizing stuff. Carolyn, oh my God, Carolyn, I told you I was going to do this. She takes so much stuff to Goodwill. I swear. Thank goodness we're not doing this.
Right. We get more stuff than we can, as I said, we can't leave anything outside. We just get so much stuff, we just don't have the room to store it. So, when stuff has been hanging around or we just have too much of one thing, and there are a couple other volunteers that we help with this as well. We take stuff to Goodwill just to make things more manageable and be able to store everything. So
But you do the bulk of it.
If you could encourage the town residents to a certain list of things that people come in looking for all the time, that, other residents might drop off, what would that list look like?
what people are looking for.
That changes from time to time, but the other thing we are doing is we're working with some nonprofits who are furnishing apartments for people who have nothing. Women
Right.
who've left abusive situations
Right.
with a suitcase.
Veterans.
Veterans who have nothing. So we're working with these organizations and we do allow them, and Ed is, I'm not sure I tell it, but we do allow people to come in on Tuesdays and pick stuff up for these nonprofits and take them away. And even if they don't have a dump sticker, they're coming just to come to the swap shop and we arrange it so that they can come in. Because the point of it is to keep it out of the waste stream. That was the whole point to begin with, to save the town money. That's how we got them to give us $8,000 to buy the tent. I purchased the tent. It came in my name. Rocky Genovese helped me find the tent. That tent could have housed farm animals.
That was the original.
The original tent.
Yeah.
And then when they segued over, and I was on planning and zoning, so I was
Right.
not really involved that much. And somebody found a building that needed a home. Was it Pat Dorenzo?
Pat Dorenzo
Pat
found it,
Dorenzo was like the fourth,
but we wrote the grant for it, the
Right.
sustainability.
but he was like the fourth person with Reese, Dot and I to start the swap shop. We actually promised Bob Steger that there would be no town involvement. And I have pictures of putting the tent up. I think every town employee, Public Works employee was there. The truck was there for that, the police truck for doing the lights.
But in terms of
But
what,
it's worked out very. I think
yeah,
it's worked
in
out
terms of what people take most frequently though, like housewares, lamps, glasses, mugs, plates, artwork, books,
A lot
small
of books.
pieces of furniture. When people bring, really heavy exercise equipment or really heavy, furniture, unwieldy pieces, they're just not, most people just aren't set up to put some huge thing. They don't have a vehicle large enough to take it.
Yeah.
So, but if people bring like a slipper chair or, kitchen chairs or something, yes, those go pretty rapidly. Big things don't. Sofas, we don't even accept them anymore. And people do get upset because they think we should accept them. But things like that, I would say small pieces of furniture and housewares, and kid things, kid toys, games.
Kids'
things like
toys.
that.
Legos. Did you know Legos are very marketable?
Oh, yeah.
Unless I am there saying Legos are for only kids,
Right.
those Legos disappear. There's somebody in Stamford that you bring them in, dumps them into a bin. The bin goes through some sorting system and he figures out how much those pieces are worth and gives you money. Legos are very, very marketable.
It's also on the internet for 100% market.
Yeah.
If not, then, yeah.
So unless I'm sitting there, and unfortunately I have horrible back. I have horrible back issues. And I just fell on an icy sidewalk on Wednesdays. I can't believe my life right now. I can't be there because I really can't do anything except say, hey, put that down. Or, hey, you've been here 20 minutes.
But she
It's
does
time
all
for you
that.
to go."
I
I am the enforcer.
She schedules, she does all the scheduling, she does.
I do all the scheduling and I do the management of the people, the volunteers.
But we're also hoping that we could sort of connect with someone on your committee that we could
Oh, right.
sort of,
Meetings with on a regular basis.
right, so that when we do run into issues, we can.
It was Paige. Paige is now
She's
a volunteer, but she's no longer on the RTM.
So Sarah will be your contact.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. I'm going to add you right away to the swap shop alerts. And again, swap shop, DarienCT.gov. It's just easier if you send me an email because then I can just copy and paste it in.
So the opposite of Patrick's question is, if you were to talk to the members of the public in the town, other than just big heavy stuff, what should they not bring?
Food,
Liquids.
liquids, any kind of hazardous waste.
And again, if things are like, if it's a kid toy and there are multiple pieces, like try to corral it somehow in a Ziploc bag or a box, or
If it's stained,
tape
we
it or
don't want it.
something.
Nobody's gonna take something that's stained. When we first did it, I came up with a poster, and I'm gonna redo this poster.
Mhm.
And the swap shop was the last resort for good stuff. And with a little play on words, we had palm trees and, somebody on vacation at a resort. We're the last resort for good stuff because Dot and I saw so many people throwing things away because they just want new in
Yeah.
this town. They just have to get the newer one. And this is perfectly good stuff. And it's adding to the waste stream. Number one, adding to the waste stream. Number two,
Right.
it costs money. It's an
Mhm.
environmental initiative as well as a financial benefit for the town. Win-win for everybody.
But also, like, if things are missing a piece, like some things you can get replacement cords easily on Amazon pretty inexpensively, but label, it would be nice, it would be helpful if people could put a note on there saying, in perfect condition, but just needs a new cord or something like that. Because things come in, they're not complete, and it sits there, nobody takes it, and then we end up having to recycle it. We recycle as much as we can, or throw it away if we can't recycle it. So I would say just try to explain as much as possible, like if there's something that's not obvious about something that you're dropping off.
Thank God for that Google camera thing. My goodness, that do you all know about that? You go to Google and you go to that little camera and you take a picture and it'll tell you what it is. It also tells you how much you can get for it. There's a lot of people using that these days, especially with the books.
So
I was just gonna ask how long before you kind of get rid of stuff? I don't know, a set of old golf clubs, they've been there 3 weeks, out they go, or is
Golf clubs don't usually sit for 3 weeks.
it?
So that's not really the good example, but a whole bunch of jigsaw puzzles. Eventually, like I said, we have this Tuesday group of women mostly who come in and they like to organize stuff and they know what's been there for 3 weeks.
yeah.
And then we have a purging. We have no choice.
I would say it also depends on how big something is.
Yeah.
Like if it's something relatively small, like, something that's sitting on a shelf that's small, it can stay there for some period of time. But if it's something that's bigger, like a bigger piece of equipment that, we have to move in and out, or the volunteers have to move in and out on a daily basis, and we know it's been there for a couple of weeks, at that point, we might try to donate it if we can, recycle it, or if none of the above, then they throw it away.
We have worked really hard to put things on something that rolls. And I want to thank, I don't know if you all were involved, but I want to thank the town very much. They gave us some of the NIPS money to buy book carts, real dedicated library book carts, so we can roll stuff out. Things tend to go better when they're outside than in the building.
And organize when they're organized.
Darien Athletic Foundation gave us, a little over $1,000 so that we could build some rolling shelves to go in and out, and a container for sports equipment, because we were throwing away massive amounts of brand new sports equipment. It would sit outside, it would get wet, and it would get thrown away. This makes it us able to move it in and out. So we've had support from other groups for which we're extraordinarily grateful. We have no money. We have no budget.
Yeah, we have no budget.
Well,
Your opening hours?
So we're open Thursday, Friday, Saturday from 10 to 12:30.
We strive to be open those days.
Yes. Unless, as we mentioned, unless the weather's inclement. So, and again, as Susan mentioned, if someone's not able to make it, if they have some things they want to drop off and they're not able to make it in those days, if you email her, we'll figure something out.
We want to work with you. We want to see, and if it's something really big, we have a bunch of people that we can say, hey, do you know anybody who wants this?
Right.
Because there are a lot of people looking for those groups like Open Doors, and I can't remember the name of the other group, but the Open Doors group, there's collecting stuff up for people. There's one that does it sort of more generically, and there's one group that takes one family or one person and puts things together for just that one person. Which reminds me, I have a TV. I have to ask them if they want. I don't want it anyway. It's good TV, but.
Unless there are any other questions, on behalf of the committee, I'll be so bold as to thank you
Wow.
very much for all of your work. And I know that you've been involved for years, and so we appreciate it. We're, of course, very focused on keeping the cost of our
Yeah.
MSW down. And so I can't imagine what the estimate of the tons of MSW that have been saved. So
Matt Lorenzo, who again was instrumental in helping us get all of this started, he estimated that we saved the $8,000 we spent on the tent in the first year and a half.
Okay.
I don't know if that can be substantiated to continue. We're not taking really heavy furniture, so that's
Right.
not as much of a weight thing.
but beyond that, the service that you provide
Yeah, it is a volume of items, and like I say, we have someone right here.
I was also just
very stuff elsewhere.
and also, sometimes just when people, get in the habit of like, the idea of reuse, it kind of carries through in other areas of their life. But in terms of reducing municipal solid waste, I just want to give a plug to the food scrap program.
Yes, oh, absolutely.
Because that is another area where people can really, really make a big impact on MSW, because its average is about 22% of MSW.
And that was you, and that was
Yeah.
Carolyn. Just so you know, she is the food scrap.
So since we started the food scrap program in October of 2018, we've diverted over 300 tons of food from the
That's
waste stream.
fantastic.
Because food is heavy.
I told the story at a previous meeting that I started doing it last year, and I've been just shocked at the amount of the weight,
Yeah.
and it just changes your whole way of thinking.
Yeah.
So I thank you very much for doing that.
Yeah. No, it's like my baby. I'm like very proud.
So I'm telling my baby, food scrap recycling is.
So I would also echo Pat's thanks to you guys, and I would ask you, is there anything institutionally or organizationally that you need from us, either now or in the future? I would tuck that away. If there's ways we can help you, we're eager to do that.
Of trying to figure out how we could put up some other place where maybe we could keep more furniture. But Ed's not happy about a lot of our suggestions. So we have to work with him.
Sure.
I'm on the sewer commission, work with Ed. So, yeah.
Maybe just publicizing things
Yeah.
periodically, and, if we work together, we can kind of get the word out.
Volunteers. We have a very set group of volunteers, and if we could get more volunteers, then we would I'd never have to worry about it, and we could also dilute the perception that the same volunteers are always there taking everything that's good.
Yeah.
So more volunteers would be fabulous, because New Canaan, when I knew it was when I first heard it was gonna close, which was a surprise to me. And I didn't know anything about this woman. I hadn't been going to the swap shop. And so that's when I got back involved. And I went to John and Ed and I said, listen, I promised Bob Steger, this was never going to be a problem for you people. We were going to handle it. I will handle it. And I did. I handled her.
And now it's not a problem.
Now it's not a problem. And volunteers park across the street. So they're not taking up any parking spots. So I implemented that. And we have no walk-ins.
Yeah, it's
There
not
were never walk-ins in the beginning.
it works.
We do allow on Tuesdays, if they're there are some landscaping guys who come in and we let them come in.
Yeah, they have a sticker to come.
They have a
into
sticker
the
to come in,
facility.
but we're not really open.
Publicity and volunteers.
Volunteers, yeah, those are.
I just want to I'd like
Yeah.
for us to be able to help you.
And maybe like do's and don'ts, like some of the things that we're talking about. I mean,
If there's do's and don'ts you want us to
yeah,
share, you can share that back with us.
yeah.
And
I'm
we're
actually
glad to-
creating a PowerPoint on some of those things. I want good pictures to help illustrate
Yeah.
points.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you again.
Oh,
Thank you
You
all
are welcome.
very much.
You're welcome.
Really appreciate it. Thank you.
thanks, Victor. I'm just gonna sit here. Will you ask Bruce to bring up my cane and my red coat? Thanks. I'm gonna listen to Bobby's presentation when he gives it to Public Works.
Okay. I will ask him to do that, or if he's talking, I'll bring it up.
Oh,
So
okay,
it's your
Karen.
coat and your.
I brought the cane because I'm just not, I can't stand
Okay.
for any length of time.
Thank you.
So why don't we move on to item 5? We talked about a little bit, well, we're almost done, bringing up our guests. We're still looking for someone on town buildings and land.
I would like to do that.
Okay, thanks. And we just need someone on dams, bridges, and I'll talk to Jeff.
Didn't we, last week, it's usually, put some interest on a.
We did, but we didn't fill out, we didn't get every focus area. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different focus areas. So we didn't quite fill everything out.
Are we, I was at the last meeting, are we still trying to double up so that there's pairs of people? It doesn't, I mean, we've gone through everything, so.
Yeah, there's only 13 of us, so we're not gonna be able, unless.
Okay.
We also have 5 people who aren't here tonight, so we can probably, in absentia,
Do some assignments.
right?
Yeah.
But I look, I would throw my name down for dance bridges in Great Island if I can do it with somebody else. I'm worried that Great Island's gonna become a lot of work.
I think a lot of it's done.
I'd like to.
That's my sense. I also have a bridge to sell. Okay.
How about a dam?
Pun intended.
I would, I'd share.
Steve, I'll do it with you.
Okay, great.
I think I'd put myself down for, maybe some sidewalks, but.
Yeah, I think we've got, Frank and I are doing roads and sidewalks.
Okay.
So I think that's what we're covered. That would be helpful if you could do the dams bridges. So we just need someone for an update on town plan conservation and development, and liaising with PZ&H. But we'll defer that till the next meeting. Why don't we quickly run through those where we have updates on some of these focus areas. Mark's doing budget. We don't really have anything yet on budget. I imagine the next couple of meetings, those will be, that will be in our wheelhouse. On roads, sidewalks, and parking, the one update I have on the sidewalk side, as you know, the first selectman and the board of selectmen have hired a consultant. They're in the process of putting together a sidewalk advisory committee. And I think they're going to try and constitute that this month. So if anybody is interested, not even as a member of the RTM, or just a citizen, a town resident that wants to volunteer, the Board of Selectmen is taking applications to serve on that advisory committee. This committee will, as John likes to say, the low-hanging fruit has been picked. Now we're into the nitty-gritty of trying to figure out, one, to focus more on expanding our sidewalk infrastructure, but two, now the more difficult decisions have to be made. And with that is allocating a higher percentage of our budget to get that done. So there have been lots of studies about, why more sidewalks are better for the community and all of that. I won't go into all that today, but this advisory group is going to advise the Board of Selectmen on which areas to focus on, and specifically this part of, Mansfield, this part of West Avenue, whatever it is, to build it out. And there's a whole budget process that goes through that. So of anybody that wants to participate in that, there is information online, and you do it's the same process as getting assigned to a commission or a board. There's a whole application process. Correct.
I'm sorry, a point of information I'm just not familiar. Do you know about how many people the Board of Selectmen want to have on this committee?
It's a good question. I don't know.
Okay. I mean, I think we've talked in the past that, 3 is too few, 5 might be too low, but 15 is too many. And so there's some sweet spot in there. And
I think it'll look
odd numbers.
Something like the building committees that we've had, Peartree Point.
Okay. And those are about 9-ish.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know.
Okay. And
it's a great
I'm
question.
assuming that there's going to be.
It was lingering in the back of my mind.
A couple of people ex officio. I mean, I assume that John Zagroski wants to be a member of this ex officio.
I think there will be certainly one of the members of the Board of Selectmen. I don't know if it'll be John.
Okay.
The consultant, I think that has been hired, I think will participate in some form.
Sure, so they wouldn't be a committee member.
It would, no, as an ex officio,
Right.
but not without voting power. I don't know. I don't know if Ed would be ex officio on that. But I don't know.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, so I don't have anything else on roads, sidewalk, roads and parking. Other than, I'll just, the privilege of the chair, I'll thank the Public Works Department for a great job they've done in clearing the roads in the last storm. I thought they
Here.
did an
Yeah.
admirable job, so if I see Ed tonight, I'll pass that along. Moving on, recycling facility, Sarah, I'm not gonna put you on the spot. But if anybody has anything on that, we've heard a lot tonight, but if anybody else has anything on recycling specifically outside of the swap shop. Okay. So Sarah, just as a point of reference, beyond the swap shop, the recycling area of the transfer station, and including the food scrap program, you know, trying to keep all of that, any developments in that would be helpful.
Well, isn't there a commission on sustainability that includes recycling on the swap shop? So you might want from time to time to just review the commission on sustainability meetings on T79.
Yeah, that's a good point. Which sort of overlaps, I mean, with this other focus area, and we might consider sort of rolling the sustainability side of that into that focus area. Because there is sustainability,
Separate
environmental,
Waters Commission and Environmental Protection Commission that way.
but sustainability has a couple of different definitions, right?
Yeah.
So it's not just recyclability, it's, you know, other stuff.
If I can interject, that's morphed over the years. Originally, it was the Transfer Station Advisory Committee.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I was on
Originally,
it.
it was the dump.
Because I was on it.
Yeah, originally it was the dump. It was an incinerator.
Right. No, I meant of that committee, though.
Yeah.
It started out with a different focus.
Right.
Sewer, I mean, the big
Sewer
sewer issue is this ordinance.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
And we will talk to you about that shortly.
Okay. Is Craig coming up or?
No, Craig's away.
Oh, right.
He's in Puerto Rico.
Oh.
Lucky guy. But Ed is here, the lawyer's here, Reese is here, and I'm here.
Okay, great. Rolf, I know, had some things to cover with drainage and flooding. Well, I guess we'll put that off until and Ian, you're also gonna join on that as well. I don't have anything else on the focus areas unless anybody else does. Questions, comments? Okay.
Are you coming to the end of your agenda? I'm just gonna
We are.
text Reese to say, tell Bobby to stop talking so much and come up here. We got a lot of questions. I'm sure we'll get questions from you.
Okay, and I'm sorry that we didn't roll
That's-
that in together, but
That's all right. We were down there waiting, saying,
I'm
we're.
trying to imagine how we were gonna get all this done along with that. In the meantime, I'm gonna jump to number 7 on minutes from the last meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the last meeting's minutes? Sarah moves, David seconds. Any edits, changes, additions? Should we
It
go?
was brilliant, but I was not here.
Okay, all in favor to adopt those minutes? Opposed?
Do I abstain because I wasn't here?
You can still vote.
Okay, well then I approve.
Okay. So that passes. Thank you.
Oh, all right, sorry.
That's okay. It was unanimous.
Okay.
That makes it easy. That takes us through to the end of our formal committee.
I just sent both Ed and Reese a text and said, they're waiting on you now. They're done with everything.
Okay.
Do you want me to go look and see how far they're gone?
Yeah, I mean, the good news is I don't know that we have a whole lot of questions.
Oh, that is good news.
Because we were lead on this last fall.
I see. Okay.
We've already paid forward.
Well, I created a handout, which Ed has got, he printed for me. It's not 2 pages, one page.
Wait, hold on a second. Go ahead.
Ed has a handout that I created that he will show you. He has some words he wants to say. He was recently at a water conference where they were talking about sump pumps. We're gonna be cutting edge. I don't know if you all realize that. Everybody has this problem all up and down the East
Sure.
Coast, but we're the only ones stepping out to do something about it.
Great.
And it's a problem everywhere. Well, you'll get it. I went to search on what is inflow and infiltration, and AI in Google came up with this really great little blurb. This long, explaining inflow and infiltration, really easy. So I have that, and then I put some numbers together on the flows over the last 5 or 6 years.
Well, just for perspective, this committee, from recollection, I think unanimously approved the ordinance that went to the floor of the RTM, which we later learned, had some issues that should have been addressed in that ordinance, which is why it got tabled. So this is this committee anyway has been a very receptive to process. We've talked to Ed about it for many years about I&I issue and how to solve for it. And we know that the commission has been sending out notices to try and get
For 5 years.
more and more information from, and now it's time to put some force of law behind it to.
And I have to tell you, I'm the one who just says, let's just get started and find out what is the extent of this problem, because we don't even know that yet. And I am grateful for all of the input from all of the various RTM members and committees into the process to make this the best ordinance that we can have, or regulations. There's 2 things, regulations and an ordinance. And Bobby will talk to our town attorney who's here, will explain it to you if you need it explained. But it's going to be a really great tool for other communities. So we want to get it right. So I have to thank everybody, plus your advertising. How much free advertising can we get? We've been sending this letter out forever. And I looked up everybody's address on the RTM. It's public record, but I looked it up against the sewer users. 82% of the RTM is a sewer user.
Mhm.
So
That's pretty consistent with the town overall.
it is consistent with the town overall. And I might as well give you my spiel.
Yeah, go ahead.
And then Ed can give his spiel. You will see this when you get it, because Ed has all of them, how I have, using the numbers from the comparison of sewer service rates sheet that DPW prepares for us every August so that we can set the sewer rate, and rainfall data from the rain gauge that was installed at the top of Town Hall in October 2019. I can show that in a wet year, the I&I is more than half of the water we send to Stamford. And I just want to make sure everybody understands who's paying for this, because it is not the town, it is the sewer users. So there are a few people who are pumping their water in, and they're getting a great deal. And then there's the rest of you who are paying for it. So 82%. Anyway, you all know Ed. I got started because they were. So anyway, that's really what I had to say. We sent the ordinance. These people are very, very on board, Ed, as you probably already know. And that's it. So so that's my little blurb. And Ed will hand out my flyer that I created for you if you want to see the actual numbers. Because I have to tell you, I came on the sewer commission in 2019. I didn't know what this was.
Great.
So I can appreciate where the people are who are not understanding, because that was me.
So just for the record, so Ed Gentile is our Director of Public Works. I'm doing this to Canada. And we thank you very much.
Sorry, I'm late.
No, you're not late. We sort of changed things up a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
But Patrick, I think it's fair to say, right, as we said before we had guests, that we as a group are solidly supportive of the mission, and that in general, I think we understand the reason here. So to the extent that it enables you to focus or comment a little better, I think what we want, or at least what I want us to know is how what's being talked about now as a final, quote unquote, final proposal, or with the latest version of the proposal, how does it differ from what we saw before? And are there any practical impacts to like how it's going to get enforced? For example, the language no longer allows the sewer commission to have people come into your house or something like that.
Yeah.
And
First of all,
thank you again for coming.
Thanks for having me. Ed Gentile, Director of Public Works for the folks that don't know me. The ordinance and regulations that you saw previously and voted on back in October-ish. Of course, had reviewed from other RTM committees and so on. So we got some feedback from a lot of folks. Your feedback was first, and we kind of built off of that. Other folks had some concerns about some of the language in there that allowed officials or some town officials to go into the property. When I read it, it seemed pretty obvious that they needed consent, but it didn't read that way to some of the folks. So we got some assistance from our attorney, and we reworded it so it came very with your permission only. And still, proper notification, proper hours of the day. I mean, all those things were included now. So that's one of the items we cleaned up. Another item was the ability to go in and actually cut off your sewer. We actually took that out. That's in there for sewer laterals that are being fed through, I say, operations that are discharging stuff that don't belong in our sewer. We all feel very close to, we don't need groundwater in there, but that's not what I think the intent is. This was less any type of chemicals, toxins, things like that, put in the water. Those are a reason to go in and actually cut off if they weren't stopping that type of activity. So we eliminated that also. And I think the third piece that was the most important, I think, was to most people, they wanted to know what to do with certain folks that maybe couldn't afford it, right? Some type of financial assistance. And then dealing with the sewer commission and talking and discussing that type of policy, we started crafting that in December, and we've worked through iterations. I can tell you the Sump Pump one, and I've told you folks before, we've been working on just the ordinance and regulations for about 3 years. High fines, low fines, permission, no permission, compliment. It's gone back and forth to the sewer commission's credit. They didn't stop. I pretty much wouldn't let them. So we put it on the agenda every month, and we talked about it. So that last piece, the financial, that's what we're doing now with that. The 5 different commissioners, and they have 5 different opinions on how we should run that financial system. They all want to do it. We decided, I think the chairman spoke first about it, was we just don't believe we should be the ones making that determination if you need financial assistance. So one of the options was, and I think it's a good place to start, is currently the town has a tax abatement list that identifies the folks that needed tax assistance. We also have, and I've spoken to the Director of Human Services, Allie Ramstadt. She provides assistance to those folks that need assistance of their food or some type of oil through the winter time, winter assistance. She's offered to help vet others that apply or come to us and ask for help. So we have those things, and that seems to be a really good foundation to start with. And if instituted through a policy through the sewer commission, that's something actually we can build on. So if we start there and we see other people that come in with different type of issues that we feel or the sewer commission feels needs to be addressed, we'll go back in and change that policy and include it or modify it to address that concern. So that was the third piece.
Sorry, can I ask a clarifying question on that? As I skimmed the ordinance, there's an appeals process, and somebody who, I think it's the sewer commission, has the ability to sort of waive a fee or whatever. So are you saying, the description you just gave is basically saying sewer commission will adopt a policy of how it will waive fees? Is that?
No, the waiving the fee part is solely your compliance statement whether you submit it or not, okay? The assistance is if you do have a sump pump
I see.
and you're connected to the sanitary sewer and you just can't
Afford to.
do
Okay,
that, or
thank you.
you can't afford all of it, or the bill is quite high, because each situation is going to be a little bit different.
Okay.
Not everyone's gonna be able to dump it into their backyard and go, okay, I'm good.
Right.
We all realize that. Or not everyone has a storm drain in the front of their house that they can run it out and tie it in. And they're gonna be, some are gonna be real simple, some are gonna be a little expensive. And the sewer commission realized that. The part of the appeal is if you don't provide the information in a timely fashion for whatever reason, if you don't disconnect in 6 months, but you're working with the staff to disconnect, that's a reason for us to hold the fine or waive the fine.
So, but the assistance you're describing, the financial assistance you're describing is
For the
somebody is
reason.
connected, they need to disconnect it, and it's a lot more than they can afford. How do we help?
How do we do that? That's right. The most important part right now is getting the water out of the sewer system. So, and I just spoke to the committee downstairs, but I did some quick math in my head before we went in, but it's real simple for me. We pay $3 million a year to the city of Stamford to treat our raw sewage. If you look at the graph that I passed out to you, you'll see our average I&I is about 50%. So $1.5 million for I&I. If you assume that maybe a third to half of that is sump pumps, because we've done a pretty good job right now sealing our system up. That's $500,000 to $750,000 a year. That translates to anywhere from $100 to $150 per user in their sewer user bill. I think that's probably around 15 to 20% of your bill.
So again, that's not fully reclaimable because we have some minimums that go to the Stanford WPCA, but this sets the table for future reductions going forward.
Right now, we went from 15.17% of our flow compared to the city of Stanford. That's how we pay our bill. They take the overall flow and how much is ours. It's 15.17 last year. This year in the bills, it's 13.67. So we saw a drop already. Even with the increased use in water in town and the rain staying at a common level, we're down to I&I around 30 to 35%, I think, on the graph. 30%.
Yeah.
I'd love to see what we're going to get next year.
Yeah.
I'm anxious actually to see if the improvements are coming. But obviously we've grabbed the low-hanging fruit, right? We're wrapping up our phase 3. There's still the connections that I can see by the sump pump run times after the rainstorm events pass. There are certain locations in low-lying areas next to rivers, coastal areas, where houses, you know, when the pumps in those areas run 2 days longer than every other pump in the area, that I know that's catching groundwater from somewhere. And it's coming in at a pretty good rate because both pumps are running. It's got to be, in my opinion, it's got to be some pumps in a good quantity of them too. So, and that's just the hypothesis. It's because other areas I can eliminate.
So I have a sort of a separate question. It's as we, maybe we'll deal with this later, but as we start eliminating those sump pump connections, particularly in those low-lying areas where, and those connections then are tied in, I would imagine, particularly in the low-lying areas, they're going to be tied into the drainage system, right? Are those systems prepared to accept that extra rainwater, let's just call it rainwater or seepage? I mean, are we fixing one problem and creating another, I guess is my question.
And that's a very good question. And I've been asked a couple of times, so I have a pretty good analogy for you. What we do right now with the storm system, rain falls, hits the impervious surface, gets into our sewer system. What's happening with the sump pumps is the groundwater rises, and those two peaks don't hit at the same time. So the stormwater will get into the system and be taken out to the sound. As the groundwater is coming up and getting into the sump pump, now we're pumping. We're actually chasing the peak in our systems. Because the systems are so small, they can relieve itself and have capacity for the sump pumps when they start to flow. because they generally don't flow at the same time as the storm system out in the street. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So they're both not going
really-
up here
so
at the same time.
So there'll probably be 2 peaks then,
They're gonna be 2 peaks.
which is better than peaking 1 peak,
And
which is what I was worried about.
most of the systems are 50-year-old, can handle a 50-year storm. Some of them can't, and I'm addressing some of those now with some of our designs.
Right.
Identified those from the larger storms, but for the most part, our storm system is actually pretty good and not very extensive. And I only say that because we have 4 rivers running through Darien. So where there's peaks and valleys, we're drained pretty much to the rivers and then to the sound.
Can I just ask a rookie question? Is the perception that a lot of the sump pump factors, should we say, are they older systems in older homes that always have water problems? Or is it newer, larger developments that are taking advantage of the system? Or both?
I'm gonna go yes. Because we've come across the older ones, and we're gonna find more of those. Darien's an older town, and we all know that. It's a coastal town. Foundations are cinder block, old stone masonry foundations. The dirt or the real thin concrete floors and the sump pump in the corner, those are everywhere. The newer homes and some of the newer businesses we found, and we've been able to catch through the building department. Who's been great and a great partner with us. They'll be in there doing other inspections and let us know if there's a reason for us to go over there and speak with the developer, the owner, or something that, show them that this can't be connected, and we've asked them to remove it. And the building department supports us with, we can't sign off on this until the illegal connection is removed. Because you can't get a seal of that in place. So they've been helping us with that. The
It's a combination.
It's a little bit of both. Yeah.
My instinct would be that the newer builds would probably have a bigger problem.
And they would, and they will. I will say that we just adopted new storm drainage regulations last September. And there's a special section in there that I worked with Rick and Jeremy and Darren on sump pumps. And the ability to have one and what you need to do if you do have one and where you need to discharge it. And if I say it's a way to discourage putting a basement below seasonal high groundwater, that's the best way to describe it right now. Because as an engineer, if I was building a house, I would never want to do that. So we sat and thought real hard about how do we emphasize to the homeowner that wants the 12-foot high basement to either have a batting cage or a golf simulator in there, that's not a really good idea to have it out.
Forget the wine cell.
3 sump pumps running out, your generator needs to be on all the time. It's a hindrance. And that's a detriment to our storm system, because that's a detriment to some of the smaller streams and stuff that are in place out there. So we are trying to get them to realize maybe we build a better mousetrap by building it up out of the groundwater instead of using a sump pump to keep our basements dry. And that was incorporated last September. Any other questions?
Anybody else?
Now,
Questions? Ed, Frank pointed this out earlier. This committee has been very supportive of this whole effort for the last, since you've initiated it. So we certainly thank you for all of your continued efforts on that. The legal side of this ordinance, which the TGS&A committee has been sussing out, I think we're going to coordinate with them, and we'll take, certainly I will encourage the members to listen to that meeting so that you don't have to repeat. I'm looking at the time, but I'm sure that they asked some perfectly appropriate and detailed questions about what the structure ought to be and how that should be incorporated in the regs between the regulation and the ordinance, and that it sort of flows between the several different state statutes correctly. So I'll spare you unless you'd like to.
I'm happy to.
Yeah.
I'm here, so it's up to all of you. If you want to listen to me speak for 5 minutes.
If you'd like to give a quick synopsis, I think that'd be fine.
Sure. My name is Bobby Brennan from Town Council's office. I was the one who originally drafted both the ordinance and the regulations here, and I think there's been a lot of confusion about the difference between the two and what we're asking the RTM to do here. The regulations are the substantive documents that were originally sent around last fall that most people were, I think, misconstrued as the ordinance. It is not. The ordinance is just a one-page document. The ordinance, which is what the RTM is being asked to consider here, is really just a citation procedure by which you are saying people who do not abide by the Sewer Commission sump pump regulations can be subject to a citation and a fine for not complying. The reason it is structured that way is because under state law, the way it works is there's something called the Water Pollution Control Authority. In Darien, when it comes to the sewer system, that is the Sewer Commission. The Sewer Commission is the WPCA. WPCA under state law is the one who gets to basically make all the decisions regarding the governance of the sewer system. So in Darien, that's the Sewer Commission. They have the more substantive regulations, the ones that talk about the compliance statements going out, returning them, what happens if you don't, the right to try to go in and have inspections with the owner's consent to the property. The Sewer Commission can and will almost certainly have to adopt, amend, revise those regulations because this is an information gathering exercise. We're not simply saying you're doing X bad behavior, we're going to penalize you with Y fine. We're saying we want cooperation to turn this information back in to DPW so the Sewer Commission can review, understand what the larger problem is that it was just talking about here. The ordinance itself is, because the sewer system is the Sewer Commission's purview, the ordinance is just very narrow. Just here's a citation process. But at the same time, I think we all acknowledge that puts the RTM in a spot because you're being asked to approve a citation process for a set of regulations that are going to have to change inevitably as the program develops. So I think it's important, and we spent a lot of time down at TGSNA talking about this, about getting input from the RTM about their concerns with the regulations so we can bring them back to the Sewer Commission to discuss them with the Sewer Commission. Sort of the one caveat here that I'm asking everybody to keep in mind is that if the goal is to get the Sewer Commission's regulations spot on, perfect, not have to go back to them again, we all know what they say, they'll be there forever, we're never going to accomplish that goal because we don't have the information yet to know the full scope of the problem, what hardships may exist, how to properly remediate, what special considerations may need to be taken into consideration. Right now, we don't have a lot of guidance from the state or from other towns because this is a novel program. And B, we don't fully yet know what factors to consider because again, right now we're just information gathering. So I think it's a worthwhile effort for us to all work together to find and take in comments like the ones that David gave to me, which were very helpful to the regulations. So we can take it back to the Sewer Commission. Only caution I would advise is that they're never going to be ready, set, go, never have to be touched again. We're all set. There's going to have to be changes that go into that. So that's what I would ask you all to keep in mind. And if you have questions about how it works, how it's structured, why there are ordinances, why there are regulations, I can answer those.
Yeah, Frank. Yes. Yeah, so we had a question previously. I guess this goes mostly to you. First of all, thank you for that. There was a question as to, does there exist any cost-effective technology that would allow us to detect, to gather information and identify where we might have, which specific individual houses have sump pumps connected? Again, you had mentioned that you can see flow meters that certain regions of town are likely having to deal with the effects of sump pumps. But as far as pinpointing individual properties, are there any cost-effective technologies able to do that?
I don't know of any technology that I've heard of that will pinpoint that type of activity down to the home or a group of homes or anything like that. The only thing is we've come across are doing flow metering in areas or using our pump stations metering to let us know that it's doing things when it really doesn't, it shouldn't need to. Yeah. And
but as a region of town at a time, it's not a particular individual.
No, it's not. It's, let's say I was sending these out and I got everyone's back except for that house, that house, that house. Can I go up and pinpoint whether they're running a sump pump or not? I could never be able to do that right now. Not with any technology I'm aware of.
Yeah, this is a complicated topic that has a lot of history. This committee's had the benefit of, I think this is your fourth time describing this to us, right? You and Craig spent 2 evenings with it. Anyway, when this goes back in front of the broader RTM, I made this suggestion to you in the original for this table. So I'll make it again, which is just, I think we need to bring the rest of the RTM along on the journey of some of what you've done and the great work to eliminate all the other sort of low hanging fruit. Just get like the way I experienced that RTM meeting, like it made a ton of sense to me, but I realized because I had heard a whole bunch of other things, and I think we just need to bring the rest of the body back in. It's done great work. They just don't know all the details.
So as a veteran of the public, and being able to hear all those things, any recommendations on level of detail? Because I can really get in the weeds sometimes and it's bad.
Pictures,
Pictures, okay, or I can be a little bit, 30,000 feet. I didn't know how it came across when we were talking to the RTM because it seemed to get a little bit, out of hand, but it just kind of went the wrong direction that I thought it was going to go.
So look, my off the cuff answer is, Susan, thank you for this.
Yeah.
But I would say the presentation you gave to this body, I think it was September, I can't remember exactly when, but when you and Craig came and sat down with us, if you could sort of do a slightly minier version of that, cut it, half to 2/3 of what you did, that's probably your right time set. And I would just give that talk to your team.
I would just add that exactly what you did tonight. You say, we listened to you. These are 3 things we addressed because we heard your concerns, and here's what we did to address those.
No, I'm thinking I'm hearing, but you want to know a little bit of the front end of how we got there.
Yeah. What is I&I? What is it costing us? Here's all the things that we've done to remediate everything else. I remember you had a chart with a big spike. Like Sump Pump is the last big thing outstanding. And we've been at this for 5 years. We haven't gotten any responses back. We need to do something that's effective. And then we heard your feedback.
And you've made all these repairs along the way and spent this amount of money to find this ongoing, this is clocking up $1 million change, every year.
And by the way, it's forcing us to spend $750,000 we don't need to spend. I think you said it well, is to clean already clean water.
The commission is spending sewer connectors fees.
Ratepayers,
thank you.
And we're the fiduciaries for the.
Right,
for them.
exactly. This is not a taxpayer issue. It is a sewer user issue. Bobby, I am
reminded that the majority of people are paying more, so a minority of people can get more out of their sump pumps.
Right.
That's the bottom line. See?
If Craig was here, you'd get a hug right now.
Yes,
how many times has he said that? Sorry, Chairman could not be here. He's on vacation, but he just said that to you. But thank you.
Yes.
As a factual point, do we think that it's 20% or 80% of sewer users have sump pumps?
That's a very good question. We don't know.
well, there's probably a lottery inside the Department of Public Works.
We'll never get the number of jelly beans per jar.
On Cal sheet.
We started
20%?
Yeah, 10 to 20. You mean that have sump pumps?
I think it's
That
over
are
20.
properly connected.
That are connected.
So it's 10 to 20% of the free riders.
Yeah.
And 80 to 90%
Bird
are.
hands.
There is
So
one
if-
person who came up to me at the RTM meeting, who is an RTM member, and he said, he's in a new house. He said, I have 3 sump pumps. 2 of them run all the time in wet weather.
Out to the yard.
Out to the yard. One of them, the one that's last in the chain, that I don't think has ever run, goes to the sanitary sewer. So it's kind of like the fallback.
Less than 10-year-old house, big
Less
house.
10-year-old
Good job.
big house, water coming from.
Well, that's not part of that. I mean, that should be part of the plans. Well,
So
that's
there's a
another
lot of
change.
variety in the sump
Means
pumps.
the building plans? Yeah.
But they put
What
them
they
in
put on
afterwards.
paper and what they build sometimes, you know.
And I think rather than,
changes.
I'm Reese Hutchison, by the way. I don't know you all. I've been on the sewer commission about 10 years now, I think. It's hard to know, like one sump pump maybe run once every 2 weeks and another maybe running full time all the time. So it's not the number of users, it's the volume. And the volume is extensive. It's
Clearly.
huge. It's huge. And the real backstory to all this is why one of the reasons we supercharged our let's fix it. We're subject to clean water lawsuits. If the system surcharges and it goes in the street and somebody has a dime in their hand and wants to use a payphone, we could be subject to an unlimited amount of fines. And we had a stipulated agreement that we've been working with from Save the Sound to do everything that we're doing plus. And so as a fiduciary, as a member of that commission going forward, anything we can do to make the system not surcharge and not hurt the environment.
Well, if I
is
might,
more important even than just the dollars, because to me,
that needs,
that
that
point.
needs to go into the presentation to the RTM.
Got
it. In some form.
Yeah.
The fact that the ratepayers are subject to potential legal liability
right.
for the following reasons.
And that's why we keep a reserve for repairs and emergency funds that we keep aside just in case something like that happens. And we have a system, our system's from
I don't want to use it for loss.
he goes to sleep worrying about some of these things are from 1938, I think is when the system was put in. I mean, come on. So everything that we can do adds to the story of our fiduciary responsibility to maintain it to the best we can. And the volumes from the sump pumps are staggering. And the inequity of some people taking advantage of that at other people's expense is also. And our contract, they renegotiate every 5 years with Stanford. So the more we can show evidence that we're reducing flows, it gives him leverage to reduce our costs at Stanford, which, you know, we pay for everything there, their maintenance, their healthcare, their pensions, liabilities. So they're a big outfit. And anything we can do to make that argument is strong.
We do have a down limit, but when we renegotiate coming 2029, it runs out, it expires. Our goal is to drop that. If we hopefully see and continue to see our progression to go down, and seeing what Stanford's building, and I saw some of the plans, the newer things that are going in, they're increasing their, residence numbers. So which means they're going to increase their flows.
Right. Whereas we can increase our residences here and still decrease our flows.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's a value added to us, as we're able to do that right now.
Just to fill out the comments that Ian was making, I would want, I think at the last meeting, there were some objections about like who's going to pay for this, and what about the little old lady who has a sump pump once every 20 years, right? I think echoing some of the comments from council that we're not going to have a complete, like this is enabling legislation that enables us to take action. We enable town bodies to take action all the time, right? So what we're doing here is not really revolutionary, and we are trusting that our sewer commission and our other town managers are going to make responsible decisions and implement fair policies. Like we're not doing anything different here than we are with any other element of town governance.
There is amount of trust you have to put in the governing body of the sewer system.
Right.
And I think you have 5 good people that actually care about this and show up every month to have their opinions heard and make sure that I'm doing and Darren is doing the right thing for the town.
Well, that sort of leads into the question that I was going to ask Bobby, and that is that those developments of the regulation, not the ordinance, but the regulation downstream, so to speak, will include things like fines, additional fines for, I assume that the commission already has in, and I'm not on the system, but already has built in fines for misuse of the system, for dumping the wrong things or using it the wrong ways. So I want to make sure I understand your comments about the fines and the penalties and things that you mentioned. Was there something specific that you see down the road, or just as this ordinance takes root, that it's going to lead to other things?
Fair question. One important initial point to make here is that the current sanitary sewer regulations already prohibit discharge of sump pumps and already have a fine mechanism for people who are willfully or grossly negligently violating.
This is the
Current state.
current state of our sewer legislation.
Yes.
Okay.
So already exists, it already is, applicable in the town code, it's already published under Appendix C, Article 11. And I think that has, understandably caused some of the confusion here, because that is really the mechanism by which, if somebody is doing something wrong, you need them to stop. That's how you enforce it. These regulations, as they're currently developed, again, it's more about information gathering. The fines are very light because we're just asking residents to return compliance statements here, sort of track down where the root of the problem is. I think if we get to a point, and again, this ultimately going to be the sewer commission's decision, I can only advise, but if we got to the point where statements were being sent out and people still weren't listening, they were just saying, whatever, I'll just get fined, I don't care, I'm not going to turn this information in. And the sewer commission has to consider upping the fine totals to get people to comply. I would argue that they have the right to do that legally. One way would be potentially by implementing daily fines for every day you are non-compliant of returning those statements over. The situation we have right now is that because this is a novel program with not a lot of guidance, we're coming to the RTM because the RTM under state law has the right to approve a citation process here. That's really the RTM's role in all of this.
And this is what we went through with the Blight Commission, where they assess, they can get down to daily.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Same controlling statute with the blight. And I deal with a lot of the blight stuff, so I'm familiar with that too. And part of that I want to carry over here is the same process, same exact citation procedure, same exact statute. But yes, I think moving forward, if we had to consider, the sewer commission has to consider people who are just still not listening, and there needs to be more fines to incentivize people to cooperate, they could do that.
And that'll be within the purview of the commission.
Correct.
Not the RTM.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, the RTM is authorizing the ability to fine. From there, sewer commission is the one who has the purview over pretty much anything related to the sewer, and what you do from there is up to them.
We were looking for one more tool in the toolbox, something a little less than a sledgehammer to just try and gather data. That's really
The problem
appreciate
is
it.
huge.
Well,
We really
I got it.
appreciate you guys and everything you
I
do.
think Ed said it well. Ultimately, what we're asking is for the RTM to trust the sewer commission to be reasonable.
Right. That is that level of trust that we already invest in the sewer commission for everything else, as well as that we invest in our other town officials to behave judiciously and responsibly. That is no news.
In the interest of time, any other questions? Thank you all.
No, you're very
Sincerely
welcome.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Very, very welcome. Thank you all
Thank
for
you
all
all
of
for
your work.
everything you do.
Yeah.
And is that in our agenda then?
That's the end of our agenda.
So we need a motion.
Take a motion to adjourn.
I'll second. It'll be quick.
That's always our best motion.
The easiest motion to pass.